We tried to continue it. We try to preserve it, for you all, not for us. It's good to have our, traditional, religious, and traditional in New York City. So I hope everyone will come and join United Server Association besides your career. And good luck, everyone, for your today's event. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you. I think that's all from me. I have to concentrate on my driving. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will pass it along now to Daoyangji, which is one of our co-facilitators for tonight.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Aisering. It's always really good to be part of an SSP, and today's especially more special because we have an amazing set of panelists today, and then we'll be talking about networking, mentoring, and then also a lot to do with professional development. Before I get into the agenda part of the webinar, I want to take some time to quickly do a living land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge that Kiluk, or United Sherpa Association, Inc., is located in Lenape, Hoki, the unceded territory of the Lenape people. I further acknowledge and offer my gratitude to the land and the people who are living, and the Lenape who are living people of the land and whose culture and wisdom we continue to learn from. Also, I quickly want to introduce myself. I'm Daoyangji Sherpa. I am working as a social safeguards technical specialist at the Wildlife Conservation Society, which is the organization that has all the zoos and everything in New York City. So yeah, I do get free buses. I occasionally coordinate with NSSP and on a couple of things, and this webinar is especially really important in terms of the vision and the mission of the organization. So I'm really excited. And I also feel that networking and mentoring is a big missing piece, especially for us, the first generation of immigrants. So I think just having this space to kind of start discussions and kind of be really honest, so that people who are just in college and kind of getting to the working space gets some insight into how it is when you're navigating as the first generation of immigrants. So yeah, with that, I am going to quickly give a rundown of the agenda. And before I start, just a quick note that if you have any questions throughout the webinar, which is almost about 2 hours, feel free to if you're on Zoom, just add your questions on Zoom. And if you're on Facebook Live, you can just add it as a comment, or if you're on Instagram, just make sure that you can post, you can either respond to the story that's posted, or you can also just write a comment somewhere. Angela and Dalamo are going to be looking at that, just be monitoring the questions. So towards the end of the program, we're going to make sure that we get to at least 2 or 3 questions. And for the agenda, it's a 2-hour webinar. We had some discussion around how long it's going to be, but I think it's a good amount of time since we have such a good amount of panelists for the webinar. So for the first 20 minutes or so, we have introductory questions. So people will be talking about their background, and then it's going to be facilitated by Dalamo. And then the second 20 minutes is going to be focusing on navigating college and career. So the questions are going to be around that theme. And then we have break around 7 for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we move on to the second part of the webinar, which is looking ahead and growth and looking ahead. So that will basically be moderated by me, and then I'll be trying to kind of create a space where all of us can have a discussion and more a round table. But there is also going to be a set of questions that I'm going to ask. And then towards the end, we'll try to wrap up with a reflection by the panelists about the webinar, or anything they want to share as a key takeaway. And then we'll wrap up the webinar. So I'm going to pass it to Dalamo, who's my co-facilitator for the webinar. Thank you.
Namaste, Tashidale, to our 6 lovely panelists, as well as our audience who are currently watching us. My name is Dalamo. I'm currently the Vice President Executive Board at NSSP, and it's so awesome having each of our panelists here at our virtual career panel event today. So I am going to start introducing each of our panelists, and for our panelists, please feel free to give a quick introduction of yourself. So first of all, we have Kunsang Chiring.
Hey everyone, my name is Kunsang. I am a third-year student at Emory University. I'm currently on the pre-med track, majoring in human health. And specialty-wise, I'm interested in pursuing family medicine and primary care, but also sports medicine. I'm not sure right now, but yeah.
Awesome, thank you so much. And then we have Lodo Getso.
Good evening, and Tashi Delag. And first of all, at the outset, let me just take a moment to thank the organizers for inviting me and for organizing this very important event. My name is Lodre, and I am a young professional with a background in international human rights, global financial crime compliance, and having had the opportunity to work with different institutions with the UN on youth leadership and youth peace and security. Currently, for the last number of years now, I've had the opportunity to work in different global financial institutions in their compliance divisions in countering, anti-money laundering and global, terrorist financing and sanction compliance and things of that nature. So that's a little bit of my background, and happy to sort of, dive deeper into this conversation further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next we have Sonam Sherpa, Sonam T. Sherpa.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for organizing this. My name is Sonam Sherpa. I'm a architectural designer, and I've been working in the field for the past 2 years. I got my bachelor's in 2021. And now I'm going to be going to graduate school for about a year and a half at Columbia University. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. And once again, congratulations. Next, we have Yeshi Sherpa.
Dashi Dale Sapizanalai, Yeshi Sherpa here. I am a NYC DOE teacher, so Department of Education. I had an idea that I wanted to work in education with youth. Kind of did this early on through SYEP when I was in high school, and then on in college, where I graduated in 2019. And then from there, I went to serve in the Peace Corps, just like Dalamu. She was in Thailand. So we both did Peace Corps. I was in Morocco as a youth development specialist, focusing on life skills, teaching English, and building community engagement. With that, I knew I wanted to pursue this, and especially in our community and the New York City diaspora of just education and providing access and equity in terms of learning and education. So I'm here now. I'm still teaching. I've been teaching for 3 years, and I'll be finished with my grad school in 2 months from now, exactly 2 months from now. So I'm super excited. I cannot wait to just finish. And I'll be doing this for a while.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And congratulations to you as well, 2 months. And next we have Fulpa Jangmu.
Yeah, Fulpa Zangbu. Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Fulpa Zangbu. I usually go by Zangbu. Fulpa is more of like my corporate name. But other than that, currently I'm a software engineer. I've been a software engineer for about almost 3 years now. And yeah, just to be a little bit more specific, I started off as a backend developer, right? So that would be a lot of like business functionalities and so on. But currently I'm working more towards being a full stack developer. So if you guys have any questions, all the audiences, yeah, just let me know. And really excited to be here. Fun fact, actually, I've been a member of NSP for close to like 10 years now. And I remember attending one of the event on the basement of Sherpa, like I think 5 years ago. So it was really helpful, and hopefully I could be helpful today as well. So excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And lastly, we have Yangji Sherpa.
Hello, everybody. Tashidale, namaste. My name is Yangji. I'm currently a litigation paralegal at a commercial litigation firm in New York City called Amini LLC. Prior to being a litigation paralegal, I attended Cornell University, graduated in May of 2021 with a degree in human development. And I applied to law schools this past winter, and I'm currently waiting to hear back. And I plan to start this August.
Time's gonna go by so fast, Yangji. Perfect, perfect. Thank you everyone for a wonderful introduction. We can move on to part one of our panel, which will be a question and answer for our 6 panelists. And we have a few questions ready for each of them. So for first question, it will be for Jangbu. I'm just gonna call Jangbu for today, okay? For Jangbu and Sonam. Question number 1 would be, what is your current position and how did school prepare you for your career? So either one of you can go.
I'll let you go first now.
Thank you, Jungbu. So my current position, I'm an architectural designer and construction project manager for an interior design firm. So in that role, there's a lot of consulting with clients, collaborating with interior designers, coordinating with contractors, and then also handling communication between them all. So for each project, I'm basically there from conception, design layouts, to creation up until completion. So whenever there's problem with construction, which happens quite a lot when we're rebuilding a space, my architectural team is responsible for finding design solutions. And how school prepared me for it, I think education for my field is needed and is very important, but I think the most impactful part of my college was the environment and culture that it let me be a part of. Sometimes you learn just as much, if not more, from your classmates as you do from your teachers. And that space of constant introduction and engagement and interaction with like-minded people with similar goals really pushed me to work harder and smarter. And I think school taught me a lot about time management, critical thinking, and which both I've found to be vital skills in my career. And I was also given the opportunity to be a teaching assistant for a class, and that opportunity taught me how to be better explain concepts, be more expressive, and share ideas with others. Another vital skill in my field and in many other fields. And so being able to work and critique in studios offered an experience that's hard to find elsewhere, if not in an academic setting. And my peers, my classmates became both my support system, but also at the same time, my competition. So, and this combination made sure I kept my path moving forward. And the support helped me stay informed and inspired. And while the competition prepared me for the real world where slacking isn't really an option. And not that in school it is, but I think another, when you take on the role of a student, I think it can help remove barriers of fear of like not being so good in the field, because you know that you have so many people around you in the same awkward position. You guys are all still learning. And then while also having people around you who are invested in and committed to your learning and success.
Thank you so much, Sonam. Jangmu, do you let me know if you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think I'm good. Thanks. So right now, I'm a software engineer. Like I said, I started off as a backend developer, right? So my time in Chase for 3 years. The first year I worked in this team where we actually handled, I don't know if you guys have a Chase account, you could deposit your checks through your phone, right? So once you take a picture of that check, it needs to be stored somewhere, right? So my team actually handled that, where we would store all the documents. It could be like a loan documents or home mortgage documents and so on, and even checks as well. But currently right now, I recently switched to a different team, and we have this new project that we're working on where we help all the employees inside Chase. So it's mostly not really customer facing, but mostly helping inside our all internal problems, right? Whether it is booking a room and so on. So there's a bunch of things that I'm working on right now. But to answer your question on how school helped me, well, this major that I went for when I was in college is not really what I'm doing right now. So in terms of academic wise, I wouldn't say much. Like it didn't really shape me as much, but like Sonam said, right, it was more about learning from your classmates and your friends and so on. And also when I was in college, it brought out my leadership skills, right? When I was in LaGuardia College, I was a president of Nepal Club, and we had to like host events, not as good as the one that you guys are hosting right now, but we had a bunch of like resume building events and so on. So I had to speak with a lot of advisors and a lot of like other elected officers and so on. So a lot of like collaboration as well, a lot of teamwork and so on, which I still use in my current role, not just in my role, but in my personal life as well. So a lot of those things, I would say you learn that from school by going there, networking with other students, right? You get to not just, convey your messages, but you can learn from their ideas as well. Everyone has a very different background and just a perfect place for you to learn from each other. So should be all.
Thank you, Jangmo, and both Sonam as well for sharing your experience. And also, yeah, thank you so much. And for second question, this will be for Youngji and Yeshi. Might sound similar. What is your current position, and what made you interested in the career that you're pursuing or you're planning to pursue? So either Youngji or Yeshi can go first.
I guess I can go first. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm currently a litigation paralegal, and this is just my position right now is just a stepping stone until I get to law school. When I was in college, I knew I wanted to do law. I was actually more interested in criminal law. Did a lot of internships at the Manhattan DA's office, at my schools, at my college's death penalty clinic, and that type of work was just very inspiring. And I knew I wanted to do law, but I also wanted to see if I could potentially be interested in other fields of law, right? So I decided to apply to a commercial litigation firm, even though I had no experience in finance or accounting, and kind of just wing it and see how I do. And so it's been surprisingly very interesting work. It's very engaging, and yeah, and I got what I want, which is assurance that this is what I want to do in the future. This is something that I'm willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a degree in. And yeah, and this is because it's a life commitment, right? So, and that's why I became a litigation paralegal, and I'll be in law school next year.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Yangzi and Yeshi.
Hi again. So I am teaching 9th grade English. I'm a special education teacher. I'm also a full-time student and teacher, so it's a lot of juggling. But as a student and an educator, I've learned, and I'm still learning, that we're here not to teach what to learn, but to how to learn. And that can be really confusing, especially when kids are just given the materials and they're taught to do one thing one way, but they're not at the intellectual level that they should be for their grade level or their age. And there's a disparity within that sometimes it doesn't get heard, and there are language barriers and not a lot of understanding between our communities of okay, well, this is why our student might not be doing so well in school. And there are sciences and so many things, layers behind it, actually putting up that barrier. And to teach them how to learn to do this, we need to know who our students are and where they come from. All students, I've found, and I've been learning, that they are different and have very different learning needs. This is where, as a special educator, I make adjustments, modifications, whatever is needed to accommodate them, using the same standards of learning for our students with disabilities and diverse learners based on where they're at now, to gradually scaffold through what they're struggling with. And scaffolds are placed to guide the learning. This creates equity in learning, which sometimes is missed. And a lot of students of color are classified with emotional or intellectual disabilities, but they're not fully diagnosed with it. It's just placed because it's easier to place them in that than actually fully doing the research and taking the time to figure out, oh, the student just has a learning disability and they need just guidance on how to learn and where to place them specifically in that terms. So unfortunately, many have faced implicit bias in parents who didn't have the opportunity to pursue higher education to speak up for their children. And they're compliant with it because it's really tricky. It's really tricky to navigate the system when they've been told, okay, well, this is what you're doing. And they're like, okay, like this is probably how I'm supposed to be doing this because these educators are telling me this is the way. So it's important for students to take ownership in their learning and build meaning as they learn, building onto these foundational skills, guide students to turn from become independent learners from dependent learners and creating these meaningful, this creates more meaningful learning to them. And it's a life lesson that they can take from both just being in a classroom to taking it outside where it really matters, especially after high school. And as a high school teacher, that's one of the biggest things that I've been working with. And sorry, that was a lot. But this is exactly why I've been very motivated and interested in focusing on this, because there's so much inequity in education across the board, and especially in New York City. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And kudos to you for, like talking about those topics and just being such a empathetic and understanding teacher as well. So thank you, Yeshi, and thank you, Yangji, for your wonderful answers and for sharing your experiences as well. Question number 3 is for Kunsang and Lodo. So first question I'm going to ask, the question, okay. So Kunsang, what is your current field of study and what do you like best about your academic field?
So I'm on the pre-med track, but I'm mainly studying, I'm majoring in human health. So it's a major that isn't offered in most colleges. And that's what drew me to my college, Emory. But it's very holistic. So it combines like social sciences, you have psychology, anthropology, sociology, and then you combine that with more of the STEM side of things, like public health, health policy, medicine. So you get the best of both worlds, like STEM and humanities. Teaches health and wellness. And I knew coming into college, I wanted to pursue medicine. And because of how multidisciplinary the field was, I wanted to take it to better prepare me for practicing in the clinical environment. What I like best about my academic field is how collaborative it is. Most of the classes use group work. It's very hands-on learning, a lot of team building exercises to look at issues around the world and try to learn something from them. Like I mentioned before, it's very interdisciplinary. And because of that, the career opportunities from that field are very diverse. Some examples are like public health, anything in like medicine, health policy and law, nutrition, comp sci, like you name it, like the list goes on. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kunsang. A wonderful adventure is waiting in front of you. Perfect. And Lodo, what was your field of study and what did you like best about your academic field?
Thank you for that question. So I am currently not studying, but I will always continue to be a student for the rest of my life. I'm always open to the idea of learning, and I've always learned a lot, through school, through life experiences, and through experiences working. So there's a lot of learning that I am yet to do, and I continue to do. But to backtrack a little bit and talk about my academic journey, I have actually started my education, my undergraduate program in international criminal justice and international human rights at CUNY John Jay. So while I was at the City University, I've been able to actually take so many different courses in different, campuses across. So I was able to take classes at the Powell School of Government and City College. And I've also taken political science classes in, Hunter College as well. So in that, similar to what Kun-sang has said about, the field in itself being interdisciplinary, my, education for my undergraduate program in itself, a very interdisciplinary in nature, right? So I've had the opportunity to study international law, comparative law, and comparative politics, while also looking at philosophy and global economics. And also my other sort of degree in international human rights, looking at, comparative legal systems and looking at, human rights on a global level, and sort of, and its nexus to global geopolitics and geoeconomic statecraft, and how are, human rights as a principle in law utilized in the space as well. So in that, you are able to sort of see how interdisciplinary this field of academic study is. And I've also sort of move on to, complete my master's education, my graduate education with a full ride in Europe. So I was there for about several years working on my master's degree in international security at the Central European University in between Budapest and Vienna. So I was there, learning, the field of study, but also being in a place where a lot of geopolitical and geoeconomic issues were happening, unfolding, and how sort of what I study in my classes are, taking shape in the wider sort of geopolitical landscape in that part of the world as well. And that was when, the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban were sort of limiting the rights of civil society organizations and limiting academic freedom, and folks were sort of taking the streets to protest for greater democratic realization and things like that. So this is in itself, the kind of education that I've immersed myself in. And looking back and looking at where I'm at today, I've realized, that this field, so to answer the question about, what's something, that I like or something fun about this or something unique about this field is in itself how, I can, take this field of study and be able to work in different institutions. So I've had the opportunity to work with different organizations that are affiliated with the UN, different institutions with the UN, worked on global youth peace and security, served as NGO youth representative at the UN here in New York. I've also sort of taken that knowledge, went to complete my graduate education, and now work for a global financial institution and advising these global banks on how to sort of create a more resilient internal system against a global sanctions regime. With what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, you see here in news a lot about, what's going on the part of sanctions and how financial institutions are in itself responsible for curtailing, the different institutions and different entities that are sanctioned by US government, by the UN Security Council, by the EU, how institutions, global financial institutions can, work to create a resilient institution to, stay clear of individuals that are sanctioned, individuals that are, or individual and entities that are, under the money laundering watch list, on individuals that are marked as designated, nationals on the Office of Foreign Asset Control with the U.S. Treasury, in sort of understanding, how global financial crime compliance has taken shape in different financial institutions. So the flexibility around this field of study, and maybe in the, down, next few years, I may also sort of switch my path and work, collect that knowledge, gather this sort of experience and work for the government or an intergovernmental institution. So I guess the flexibility in this field of study has allowed me to grow both as a person and also as a professional as well over the past number of years now.
Thank you, and amen to that. Thank you both, Kun-sang and Lodo. And with that, we can move to part two. Part two of our panel. which would be navigating college and career. So for the first question, it will be for Jangbu, Yeshi, and Sonam. So question number 4, part 2, part 2, question number 1. What are some of the biggest challenges you have had to face in your position or career path? Let me know if you want. Just let me know whenever you want me to repeat the question. Thank you. And so Fulpa, Yeshi, and Sonam.
So who wants to go first?
I can go, I guess. For me, some of the biggest challenges, I think some challenges that come within the working field in the workplace for me is dealing with difficult clients, and they come in a range of like different types. Some clients are a little too involved. They try to do our job too much, whereas some clients sometimes are not involved at all. They don't relay any sort of information about what they want from us. And it's very difficult to get in touch with them. So that's sort of some of the difficulties that that happen to me in the workplace. But the biggest challenge for me, something that I struggle with to a greater degree, is I think my current job and the lack of connection I have to it. I think being able to work in a field I'm passionate about is great, but the work I'm currently doing is kind of like far from what the work that I want to be doing. And because my interests have always been in topics like sustainability, environmental solutions, healthy building materials, etc. But the firms that I've worked with for the past 2 years only have projects that are sort of profit chasing and over designed or extremely wasteful. So I've kind of had to like bend the knee to other people to and not just make it about my interests, just kind of indulge myself in it to gain the experience. But at the same time, these firms have also given me the exposure to events and lectures that do align with what I want and what I'm interested in. So even though at the core of my workplace, the principles aren't what I want, I would prefer, it still allows me the opportunity to be part of the engagement where these topics are being discussed. And so as strong as that disconnection at my workplace may be, in a way that dichotomy still furthers and deepens my connection to my goals. And I think with that being said, I think challenge isn't necessarily a negative thing, because in every which way that this firm doesn't align with what I want to do, it also gives me sort of an awareness of how far I am from my goal. And that only encourages me and pushes me further.
Thank you for that. I'll go next. I think there's so many challenges with being an educator and especially working with the youth. There's so many stories and realities that our students are facing, especially our youth in marginalized communities. And that's exactly who I work with. So with them, it's every day is the challenge because something new comes in. Like I had 2 students, they live in Naisha, everything burned, like they have nothing. So it's like having drives for them, being social emotional supports for them. It's a very interdisciplinary field where we're not just their teachers, but also they're social workers. There are so many layers there's so many hats that we have to put on in working as not just their teacher, but in the end, it's just like being a support system for them, and having a support outside of their home, because a lot of them don't have traditional home settings where there are so many nuances of what a family looks like for them. So their teachers and the school community become the larger part of their family. I think as far as challenges go, as an educator, one of the things that I really struggled or debated amongst was what program was best suited for me and where I want to learn. It really came down to 2 great schools. One was a dream school, Teachers College at Columbia, which I got accepted into, not the program that I had applied to, but I got in. The other one was at Pace University. And Pace, no debt. Columbia, a lot of debt. So I ended up picking the more logical and practical answer for the moment. And I'm glad I did it because I know I want to go back to school. So if I want to be in debt, I'll be in debt 5 years from now, opposed to right now, because I want to continue and hopefully get my PhD in education. And with that, I think one of the challenges as picking which program is best suited for me, that was the big thing. That was the first challenge. I went in the route where I'm saving money. And in the end, I have come to realize, because I've met teachers from Teachers College and they said, well, it wasn't worth it. You're doing the exact amount of learning because when you're in a classroom, that is where the most learning happens. After meeting your students and having those interactions, the rapport you build with their families, the community, and everyone in their surrounding as well. The other challenge comes with balancing work and school as a full-time teacher and as a full-time student. That has been a big struggle because I never had time for myself, and it was always about, okay, school, work. So I really didn't get to see a lot of my friends. Like Sonam and I are friends. We go way back. Like I hadn't seen him maybe last year. I saw him once last year, and that was like randomly. And it's like, you know, a lot of my social life died out because of this program. And a lot of the work struggle comes from my administration not fully supporting us by giving us a curriculum. Teachers are given curriculums, but at my school, while it's a really good work setting, I have a wonderful co-teacher who's the general teacher, content teacher, and I'm the special ed teacher. We work very well together. We make our own curriculum, and they wanted a higher focus on literacy this year because of how low the literacy, the Lexile ranges were for the students' reading levels. And they made it the 9th grade teacher's responsibility to build their reading. So we've been doing that all school year, and we haven't burnt out yet, but it feels like it's going there just because there's a lot of emphasis on literacy, but we're not literacy specialists. So we're learning all of this in addition to creating our own curriculum when it's not placed to us. So there's so many challenges day by day that goes as an educator. But those 4 things are possibly something that I'm facing every single day for the past 2 years. So that's, yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead. Well, let's start with the career path. I think the first challenge was to figure out what career path that I wanted to go into, right? So I was studying business in Baruch, but looking at a lot of people who graduated from business and working in an accounting firm or like the finance firm, I just couldn't resonate myself with them. It just didn't feel like that is something that I would be good at, or whether I would fit in their community or not. So I think the hardest part for me was just figuring out what I really wanted to do. And I decided to go a different route. I joined a coding bootcamp right on my 3rd year of college. And right after that, it was about 3 months, spending about 10 hours a day. And I had to miss a lot of events and like get away from my friends and family. And that was really challenging. Those of you who do know me, I'm very like social, with my friends and my family as well. So just spending every single day, just coding, grinding out, just going out for a gym, coming back home and coding, doing the same thing over and over, even on weekends for 3.5 months. So that was one of the most challenging things. But right after that, once I got the job at Chase, I felt like it paid off, right? I felt like it paid off, but then there were some more challenges once I got hired, right? So since it was during pandemic, since I was hired as a junior developer, I was hoping that I would have some sort of mentor, right? Someone who would guide me or someone who would help me on board, not just in a week, but who would actually like at least hold my hand for at least a good couple of weeks and show me all the projects that we're working on, just go over it, like break all those big problems down for me. Because when you're coding on your regular basis or when you're studying, and once you go to your office and you see a program that is about 400 or 500 lines, it gets overwhelming. You don't even know where to start, right? So not having a mentor that really put a big impact on me, right? I had to spend countless hours after work just trying to figure out something that would have been solved in a couple of minutes if I had someone who was guiding me and helping me through that. So that was one of the challenges. The other challenge um, is actually what Lodo said, right? Being a constant, being a student, like lifelong student. Sometimes you just want to chill, like you don't want to be a student. The thing is, in software engineering, you just have to learn every single time, right? Like I started off as a backend developer doing Java, but then after a while, they wanted me to learn front end, like React applications and so on. And after that, right now, they're really pushing us to get a cloud certification, like AWS cloud certification. And now with like this whole chat GPT coming out, we might have to go and learn how to write as well. So they're just constantly learning every single day. You never feel like you have a break. You could take a break. It's always learning and so on. In a way, it's a good thing, but that could also be a challenge, and it will be hard for you to just maintain your work-life balance. So those are some of the challenges, I would say.
Oh, thank you to Sonam, Yeshi, and Fulpa. I just resonated with each of your challenges so much because it's, and I will say, I guess on a similar boat as well, where, you know, like you're working and you're studying, but sometimes maybe the job that you're doing, you're like, I'm working here, but it doesn't really resonate with my values and beliefs. And then there's like challenges surrounding you. But at the end, the good thing is, as Sonam said, there are some positives in it where the challenges, they are shaping you like as a person, but also like you get to know what you want in the future, like just as a career as well. And also like Jangbu, you wish there was a mentor. Now like for your future, you know, like for a job place, you want someone who can teach you. And I'm like, I'm on that boat. I wish someone was there to teach me as well, where like, you know, just with the current job position that I had as well. But definitely challenges. It's good though. And Yeshi, thank you so much. Kudos to you again for being able to balance both full-time studying and how are you here? Full-time studying and full-time job. So thank you. With that, we are gonna go on our 3 to 5 minutes break. Go around, stretch, get your quick water, and we'll be back by math. What is math? 6:50, 6:50. So we'll be back at 6:50 p.m. So see you all soon. Hello, welcome back, everyone. And we are just going to continue the part 2 of navigating college and career. So for our second questions, we have Lodo, Yangji, and Kunsang. So Lodo, it will be the same question that I asked Fulpa, Yeshi, and Sonam. Would love to know what are some of the biggest challenges you have had to face in your position or career path?
I took the opportunity to listen to a lot of the stories and the hurdles and barriers that you've shared, and I feel that I connect and resonate as Dalamo has shared, with a lot of these different struggles that we as a collective sort of went through in our different paths. I think, listening to you guys as well, what sort of, gave me an impression that we all have been taking that sort of, barriers as a way to sort of, learn about ourselves, learn about the ways we engage in different, hurdles in our lives. And, it goes on to speak about how we have been sort of actively taking actions to improve ourselves and make a better version of ourselves in that. And I very much, in my journey, have taken these different set of experiences of barriers and hurdles as a way to teach myself a lesson about how I can do better the next time I come around, some sort of barriers like that, and how each of these, in many ways, have in itself, barriers have become a way to guide further into the direction that you're headed. And it's helped me more than it has sort of, negatively affected me. In that, I would like to maybe revisit one of my experience when I was in my undergraduate career. I was at, as I mentioned, the CUNY John Jay, and the focus at the university is very much on criminal justice, social justice, forensic science, forensic accounting, and things of that nature. And as students learn in these fields, they go on to work as public advocate or defender, or work in different district attorney's offices, or works in intelligence or public law enforcement officers and things of that nature. For someone like me who came with an interest in the field of international relations, international affairs, I felt a bit out of place in a way that there were no particular focus. Of course, there is an academic focus in the field that I was in, but in terms of professional, opportunities, for example, from internships, from fellowships, for example, or research opportunities, I've realized that there were not as much opportunities for someone who is interested in that field. So I took that sort of, opportunity to reach out to different professors, reach out to individuals that I have come across within the university who have, studied in the same field. And through a lot of different interactions and networking with professors and individuals at the university, I've managed to actually get a position, a research assistant position at the Center for International Human Rights at the CUNY. With that, I've actually come across my professor who's become one of my lifelong mentor. With him, I've sort of shared the kind of sentiments about not being able to find a lot of professional opportunities within the university setting. He've helped me connect with internship positions within different human rights and international organizations. So I say this because it's for me in itself. When in my first year at the university, I realized of course I'm learning a lot academically, but I would also want to see how that applies into the real world, and how I can, learn to implement, what I study in classes and through opportunities, professional opportunities like internships, fellowships, externships, what have you. So I've taken that barrier and learned that, I could actually break that barrier by actively taking action to reach out to individuals who may have knowledge about it. Professors, mentors who have come about to help me realize that there can be, opportunities if you actually actively take the, time to reach out. And in that, when I look back now, currently as it stands, the same center that I serve as a research assistantship currently has a rotating internship opportunities with the university where they get to send every year 2 different students each semesters to intern at the center at the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization here in New York and the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. So I guess, this, I'm not saying that this has come out of my, complaining about not enough opportunities, but I think, looking at barriers as an opportunity to sort of learn and grow and seeing how that has sort of taken shape into possible opportunities for students who are interested in this field in itself is a sense for me, looking at the barrier and taking advantage of that and creating an opportunity in that. So that is, I guess, my experience with that.
Thank you so much, Lodo. Thank you. And then for the next question, it will be for Kunsang and Yangji. What are some of the biggest challenges you have had to face as you navigate your field of study?
I can go first. I think the biggest challenge for me was finding an advisor or a mentor or someone to talk about like what courses I should be taking specifically for my major. I came in as a transfer student my sophomore year, so I didn't know much about like the requirements for the major. So I ended up only taking electives, and then so now I'm a junior and I'm cramming through like required courses for my major because I didn't know I was already at a disadvantage starting my major late. With regards to pre-med, I think the biggest challenge was starting college during the pandemic. It was really hard finding like clinical opportunities, and I remember for like about 8 months, like starting from last summer, I was just cold calling and emailing hospitals, like asking them if I could shadow or volunteer any of the physicians. I heard back from no one, and then I decided to email one of my school's hospital managers like maybe about a month ago. And that same night, so they basically emailed me back, and they told me there's an online directory and you could just go and find all the emails of the doctors there. And I didn't know about that, and I sent an email using that directory the same night, and I got like 3 responses from doctors like letting me shadow them and research with them the next morning. So I wish I'd known about the resources, and I think it just goes to show like it's very important to look for those open doors and like search for opportunities outwards, but then you also want to look inwards as well at your college or institution, because there's a lot more resources that are under the surface and that your institution has to offer that kind of get overlooked.
You're muted, by the way, Adi.
I know. I was just mouthing thank you.
Oh, okay. So I can go next. The first thing that comes to mind is similar to what Yeshi mentioned as her first challenge, and it relates to money. Money's, the financial barrier is always a formidable barrier that we all face as we, try to attain higher education. And law school is going to be easily 150 grand for 3 years, and that's not, it's not a little money at all. But I'm fortunate that my situation allows me to take debt and take loans and work with that in my life, and yeah, it'll work out. The other challenge that comes to mind is when I was in high school, I had my heart set out on wanting to be a forensic psychologist. I was very interested in how human being works, as specifically as it relates to like criminology, or like why people commit crimes and how we can prevent that on a societal level. And when I did my internship at the Manhattan DA's office, I found another field that actually really spoke to me as well, and it had a lot more face-to-face interaction with people, more like individualized impact that you have on other people's lives. And deciding to change my career to the legal field was a tough one, because again, as I mentioned, since high school, I knew I wanted to be a forensic psychologist. I had my path figured out in my head I was gonna do a PhD in forensic psychology. I was gonna be a forensic psychologist, and now like I would be with expert witnesses at trials, whatever. I had that entire vision in my head, and letting go of that to venture into something, a legal field that I knew nothing about, had done no research in high school. That was challenging, and I'm very glad that I did that, because I've, as I mentioned earlier, have found a path that I feel very assured in, that I know I will enjoy doing for the rest of my life. So yeah.
Thank you, Kunsang, Lodo, and Yangji, and also just shows that if you stay within that one box, you are not going to find out anything. So as like Kunsang did, he went outside, he went inside, and he was able to find out like about the resources at school. And for Yangji, when we were growing up, we would always watch crime shows. So I know where her interest came from, just like that, also kind of like a detective kind of shows and everything. And also thank you so much, Lodo, for sharing your answer as well, and how, sharing your experiences and how like, you were able to create opportunities for other people as well. So yeah, thank you so much. For our next part 3, I'm going to pass my mic to Dawa Yangji. Thank you.
Thank you, Dalamo. This has been such a great space just to learn from everyone. And as people were talking, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that situation. I was like, yeah, in college or yes, at work. So it's really interesting to kind of hear, and also kind of realize that this is not something that is very individual, but it's something that a lot of people are going through, and it's always really helpful to hear from others. So we've already dived into a couple of things like networking and mentoring, but I think what I want to do in the second half is to kind of open the space more, to be more honest, to be more vulnerable in terms of thinking about what are some big challenges when it comes to thinking about the concept of networking, for example. It's something that is really missing in our community, and I strongly feel about it because I've been in many spaces where I try to talk about work, and I'm not trying to go towards that really very, very, I would say very white space, if I have to call it out, in terms of thinking about, you're only talking about work. I don't want to do that for sure, because if I'm with my loved ones, I also want to talk about things that are other than work. But at the same time, it is also really, really constricted to talking about family matters, talking about other things, or just talking about day-to-day lives. So my question to the group would be how do you navigate networking, or even the concept of networking within the Sherpa community, or within the Himalayan community, to be more open? And how do you within your own circles think about networking? It can be professional or personal, but and to follow up with that, do you think it is helpful, if you have done that? So I'm going to pass the mic, and I'll just kind of if you have any thoughts that come along, then just feel free to jump in. But I want to start with Sonam, if that's okay, if you want to quickly jump in.
Sure. Yeah. I think networking is very important, so both in professional and personal. For both, I think reaching out and taking initiative is very important, and being competent and doing your research and staying informed is also very important, and staying consistent, because like I said in my first answer, my school and my professional experience, my school was like a fuzzy border between professional and personal, in and of itself, because my peers were not only just my friends, but they were also my colleagues, and they were also my competition at the same time. And they were at the same time, they were also my partners. They were also my collaborators. So with that being said, I think, and just having that conversation, having that engagement allowed me to get inspired and stay well informed with all the other things, because I think being proactive and having these mutual connections and interests in lectures and project presentations for me, it opened many doors for me, because I think in the beginning phase of my school, I think I was still kind of uncertain about what I wanted to do, and I didn't really know, even within architecture, what sort of niche that I wanted to focus in. So having these conversations, having these engagement, even with my professors, even with my colleagues, really opened that door for me. So I think that in that way it has definitely benefited me, and then it has also benefited me in ways where I've been given job opportunities, been given internship opportunities, just because I was staying in touch and staying engaged with my professors even after the courses had ended. So doing that, taking that initiative and reaching out really helped me stay in my professor's radar. So when they see job openings, when they see internship opportunities, I was still in their mind, and they were able to reach out to me and then offer me these positions. And I think in our community, I think, yeah, I do agree. I think the important question is like, why is it not a common practice in our community? Because I think in our Himalayan community, we have a large population of like foreign students. So they come from a completely different education system and cultural system. And there's also that language barrier. So from my experience and what I've seen in school, I've seen a lot of Himalayan students kind of avoid engagement in the classroom, like kind of they're doing well and they're getting their good grades, but they always and not to make it general, but they've always been like, I've seen a lot of kids be like the quiet kid in the class. So I think it's very important to kind of get out of that comfort zone and break that barrier to be involved in and engage yourself in the conversation and discussions. And that's easier said than done. I think a good method to navigate that is, I think, to have these engagements and conversations, you need to know what you're talking about. So I think before having that conversation, do your research, stay well informed, so that you do speak, whatever you speak about has some merit and has some important topics, and it is thought provoking. And I think doing things like joining this Korean panel that we're having right now. I think whoever's joining right now, I think I commend them for it. I think doing things like this is what helps them move in that direction, because you always keep your doors open and always be fluid with what you want to do, because there's opportunities for you everywhere. And then that helps you open the doors to things that you may not even know that you were interested in. And yeah.
Thank you, Sonam. And like, I want to pass the question to Jangmu.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I actually quite don't agree with this statement saying that it's not as common in our community, right? So me, like when I first came from Nepal, like I did not have that many friends, right? Even in the Himalayan community itself, I did not have that many cousins and so on. So it was all just by myself. But I knew there was NSSP. So I actually take pride in being a member of NSSP, because when I used to go to NSSP events, we used to do like a bunch of games and so on. So it was a good place for me to go and network with people, right? There's so many other organizations. Like recently I was at this event hosted by GTPN. Not sure if you guys heard of that. It's a global Tibetan professional network. And it was great. I got to meet so many professionals from like different fields, right? And I even met like a really close friend who is a software engineer in Microsoft, and that's like, well, that's pretty cool. That's something that I would want to do in future. And we still have communication till this day. Like we're actually texting like every single day, sharing our experiences and so on. And I feel like it's easier for Himalayan people to make friends with another Himalayan people. Like I do understand that for a lot of people, they're kind of reserved, or they don't want to speak up, or they don't want to reach out. So I would encourage everyone out there, whoever's watching, just be yourself. Don't be afraid to just say, hey, what's up? Like, what's going on? You know, what's your favorite sports, right? Do you like going out sometimes? Like just simple communication like that. It doesn't have to be professional every single time. Just go and make friends, right? And networking, it's so important, because I feel like the position that I'm in right now, it is because of networking itself, not just from the academics or anything like that. Even the current team that I'm on actually was from a friend of mine that I met during a ping pong tournament, right? And he told me, hey, I have an opening in my team. We're working on this new project. Would you like to join? And I was like, yeah, sure, right? This would be a good opportunity for me. And right now, and I've been in this team and recently even got promoted. And it was because of the fact that we were friends. We had that network going on, and he was able to invite me and be part of the team. So I would suggest everyone just go out there, make friends, right? Don't be nervous, just be yourself. And yeah,
Thank you, Jangmo. Yeah, I think just connecting through like games and any other thing and finding that relationship like between like people with common interests, and then like kind of that also opens doors for like other things, including like networking and kind of like professional growth. So that's really important. So like Lodo, I think the same question to you in terms of like how are you navigating networking in your circle?
I think it's a very important question, and the way Sonam and Jangbu has sort of captured their experiences in sentiment, I very much sort of echo what they have said, right? And fundamentally, networking is going to make you uncomfortable at the beginning, and that is very much a part of you learning about that experience, is to challenge yourself to be in uncomfortable situations, sometimes make small talks if need be. And that in itself will allow you to break, that level of hesitation that you may have in being able to interact with people, interact with social circles, organizations within your school, classes, what have you. And I think that breaking that sort of, this situation of discomfort in itself, teaches you a lot about how you should actually start in that journey of networking. For me, networking has, played a very important role in being able to progress myself in my career, both professionally and academically, and also personally as well, right? Networking for me, is it can be done in a multi-pronged approach. So, for example, we live in at such a point of time in our lives where we have, for example, a networking at the very foundational level can be done through, professional social networks, right? Or social media networks, rather, LinkedIn, for example, or Twitter. LinkedIn, it's important for anyone to create. It's free, right? So anyone can create a profile there and, build your profile there and your educational background, what have you. And on LinkedIn, it's easy for you to navigate your path to sort of see who works in the same field, who shares the same level of interest that you have, who have similar background in education, and just click that connect button and try to sort of connect professionally on social, professional social network, platforms like that. For me, I have done that, and I've exploited at one point of time in my life, the sort of platforms like LinkedIn. I've when I was looking for job opportunities, I added a number of individuals who work in the field that I was interested in. I reached out to them, for those who are in New York, send them a message saying, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm looking for opportunities. If you have some time in this week or next week, I'll be happy to see if you have an opportunity or some moment to catch up over a coffee, or if you can, pick up a call to sort of see if we can discuss X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it is a numbers game, right? You reach out to 100 people, you try to connect with them, maybe 20 of them reach out back to you. 10 of them may actually accept the opportunity to actually talk with you. So sometimes you do sort of exploit some of these networks, platforms in a way that benefits you to progress yourself professionally. But second platform that I do see as an important element of my progression in career is also looking at the sort of institutions that you work at, and you will be able to internally find that there are a lot of different organizations and institutions, groups within your own firms, within your own work workplace. So, for example, I currently work at MUFG, the Japanese financial institution, and within which we have, groups such like Aspire, the Asian American, the Asian Pacific Islander group. We have the Alpha groups, the Latin American network of individuals, professional individuals. We have, next gen individuals with disability or differently abled individuals. So there are different networks within pre-existing within different institutions that you may work with that you can also take advantage of and reach out to these individuals for how to be a member, right? How to engage in some of their events and reach out to them and see maybe your next career move can come out of that network of people that right? And equally much looking internally, there's also opportunities for a network externally. So the third point is about that, about how, for example, in the field that I'm involved in and interested in, there are different professional network organizations. For example, there's this organization in my field called, my interest called the ACAMS, Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists. There's also another organization like the YPFB, Young Professionals in Foreign Policy. And there are a number of other organizations like that that are specifically, professional network organizations where I have actively taken to be a member of, to go and network with these individual organizations, attend their events. Sometimes you may have to pay for their, a cover or whatever. But, going into that, you are, going in there hoping to be able to interact with folks that have similar interest, folks that are working in that field. So it's important, and in my experience, to be able to reach out as much as you can, both internally within the institutions that you work with, externally within the network of individuals that share the similar interests and similar field of work, but also on social media network that I mentioned initially. Because at the end of the day, I feel that professional networking at this point of time has to be and will continue to be a multi-pronged approach, right? And at a point of time where we are seeing fallouts of different financial institutions, we were initially discussing about the Silicon Valley Bank, the Signature Bank being collapsed. Now Credit Suisse is taking, having a lot of, discussions surrounding, their investors and things of that nature. We live in an uncertain period in our history, right? And at such point of time in our lives, if you have a well-established network of individuals, people that you have formally associated with, at a point of time when, unfortunately, if you lose the job that you may have, having that backbone of professional networks will definitely allow you to be able to, more rapidly transition into your next career move, right? If that were to happen, you can actually take a step back and reach out to the person that you know from that network and ask for an opportunity there. So in my view, holistically speaking, professional and personal networking is in itself, you taking an active step towards contributing towards making yourself more resilient and resistant against external shocks like what I just mentioned. And in that, you're able to continue to build yourself and progress yourself in a way that, that puts you in a much better position to progress than any other folks that may not take advantage of networking opportunities. So that is, I guess, in a nutshell, my experience with professional networking and how I see in our Himalayan community a very vital point of time to take advantage of that, to continue progressing forward in our lives. And this event in itself, in itself a reflection of how the community in itself is taking our active steps towards realizing the importance of networking, right? And for example, Bulba mentioned about, GTPN, one of the professional network that I also take part in. It's also one of the routes in which within our own communities, we can look for help. We'll look for ways to navigate our professional network. So always important to have that multi-pronged approach, in my understanding, to professional and personal networking.
Thank you, Lodo. That was an amazing set of like reflections. And as you were talking about LinkedIn, I was like, oh my God, yes, LinkedIn. Like, I think that's one of the only networks or like social media platform I am in. And I do connect with a lot of people, like at least every day, at least like 5 people at minimum. And to be frank, like my current job right now that I have is a product of LinkedIn connection, because I am very active and I like do tend to post a lot of thoughts, or a lot of like we share a lot of things that I come across, and I think that kind of really attracted my current position's director, and he was really impressed, and then that's how he reached out and like offered the position. So LinkedIn is really, really powerful so right now, so I definitely want to stress on that again, in terms of like, you know, slowly building that space, and also kind of looking at it as like a space where you can learn and also like connect with people and also see what's happening in your field. Besides that, I want to open it up to like our other panelists. If you have any reflections or any thoughts that you've thought of, like as like all these were being discussed. Derek, I see your hand up, so if you want to chime in, please go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Derek Sherpa. Just had a question, and because we are an NSSP network of Sherpa students professionals, trying to understand if, you know, going individual ways here, but I think as someone else recently told me about a term, Sherpa Americans. Being a Sherpa American, do you think there were specific challenges you faced going about, you know, a certain college or a certain, I don't know, career pathway? If you can share that, you know, that would be amazing.
Hi, Derek. Long time no see. I think there's so many nuances as being a Sherpa, and especially like what Sonam was saying, like there are Sherpas who were like born here, raised here, like there's those Sherpas, right? Who had a very different upbringing, and there are Sherpas who are international students and like are navigating the pathway. I think there are like expectations for the ones who've been here, and they're like, okay, I'm going an education route. It's like, why aren't you becoming a doctor or something like that? There's like a specific theme going on where, okay, if you are studying, if you are doing this, like, why aren't you being something more than this? And it's, I could do that, but I don't want to. I have no passion in that. And these are like very honest and very hard conversations you have with your gagas and your like parents and like everyone who has kind of invested themselves into your life and your education, because for us, we grew up in like, there's a village who raised us, and that's technically how, like for us, like I'm not just Sherpa, I'm also Manangge and Gurung, so it's like I have these different ethnic backgrounds that all tie together into how, like what it means to be like Nepali American, and like those standards of being Nepali American and educated, especially because for my parents, they weren't educated. It's like, so there is a stricter, I believe, from my experience, and I can't speak for all of you guys, but from what I've experienced and the people that I've ended up, you know, meeting, like relatives, Satyaru, like all of us, like it seems to be the same theme of, okay, like if you are studying, then why don't you study? It's like either make more money or like to do this. And it's like, sometimes that's just not where you want to go. And there are so many nuances to being a Sherpa, you know, and a New York Sherpa.
Thank you, Yoshi. Appreciate that insight. Along the lines, I was like trying to understand, particularly since we are a subgroup within Asian Americans, and how, you know, particularly Asian Americans have to, in a way, perform a lot higher standards compared to other groups. We are put into that category somehow, even though we are a very new group within the Asian American community. coming into America. Did you guys find that challenging, trying to apply to colleges or trying to get into certain career fields? If anyone wants to entertain that question.
Anyone? I'm happy to jump in and just like quickly share. If I'm getting your question correctly, Derek, the identity that comes along, because like if someone looks at me first, they are like, "Are you Chinese?" And then I said no, and then they go on with like all the nationalities that are like in Asia, right? But in terms of just thinking about, there is an internal perspective in terms of like being a Sherpa or like being an Asian, like kind of being classified in that, and then like kind of reacting to that structural thing. And then there's also people who perceive you like that, so you kind of have to react in the same way. So I don't know if it makes sense, but in terms of navigating that space, it's definitely been like, I think one of the first things I say when I introduce myself is like, I'm a Sherpa Nepali woman, and kind of like really put it out there in terms of like, okay, I am an Asian person, but at the same time, like there's this ethnicity that is a bigger part of me. And that's how I've been navigating the spaces that I'm in. So I don't know if I'm directly answering your question, but then I quickly just want to take time. And then if there is any other questions from anyone else, then we can like just move on to the second part of this theme around growth and professional development. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the second question, which is like, do you have a mentor? And it could be anyone like within your field, or it can be a supervisor. It can be someone really personal to you. And I've had like amazing set of mentors in terms of, at least when I was choosing the path that I'm in, which is like an environmental space. And it's obviously like a space that doesn't pay well because it's mostly under like nonprofit standards. But at the same time, like kind of like really trying to kind of like, as the issue was saying, like why are you like, okay, there's echo, sorry. Standards, but at the same time, like kind of like
I think somebody's unmuted.
Okay, I think somebody's on Facebook Live, but that's okay. So yeah, like I was saying, like, just like kind of working with that space or working with the set of people that love you a lot and kind of like have very high expectations. So for them, it's like, why are you like working in the environmental space? Like, it definitely like is something that is really challenging, but at the same time, it is like pursuing my passion and what I think is like a right path for me. So in terms of thinking about mentors, like if you have anyone personal or like professional, I want to kind of open that question to the group. So if I can call out people right now in terms of like, just like passing this question, Yeshi, do you want to get started? Since you kind of like gave like a preview, but if you want to dive more into thinking about like, because you've navigated the space of being like in education, like if you had like personal or professional mentors.
Yeah, I think it's so important to build these relationships and rapports, and like networking can be very difficult if you don't know what you want to do. And if you're just asking people questions and you feel like, okay, well, I don't know where I'm going, but even having like getting to the conversation starting is really important. But sometimes like there are barriers within like even social cues, like how to be acting, and the anxiety does build in, and that definitely happened for me a lot of times. And I think my first few mentors kind of came up when I was in college, my undergrad. My professors, who I'm actually still friends with, like these are important people. Just because they're a part of your life, maybe at college or high school, like they could have meaning and they could guide you in different directions where it could be helpful. Like he became a mentor and he's still a mentor. He wrote my recommendations. I write recommendations for him because like these are the relationships you build, and he's become a mentor. He's a professor. He's an anthropological professor. But he's had so much insight in terms of just education, and he is he's a Korean, like adopted from Korea by Korean parents. So he's had to like also face the understanding of what it means to be Asian and adopted Asian to Asian parents. So it was like so many things that we could connect on, build on, and going through the route that I'm going on, the person that I currently work with, my co-teacher, has been my biggest mentor. She's been teaching for 4 years now. Ironically, she went to teachers college and told me it was the right decision that I didn't go. She has been able to support me in a way that I didn't know I would need. It was more so like you have your education, you learn, you're in your program, but when you need to be physically working and in a classroom to become a teacher. And like I said before, like we don't teach by just like telling them what to learn. We teach by teaching them how to learn and building those learning strategies, be it just motivation, like building metacognition skills, differentiating, like all of that. The learning took a very long time. So having a mentor who's physically with me in the same room for 2 years helped me understand what it's like to be a mentor. And I too, as a mentor, I mentored Bimba, who's now, she just got to Nepal. She's a Fulbrighter. I mentored her for a while through NSSB, and like we built that relationship, and like it was in the same path, right? So mentorship is really important, and it really takes time to build on. And one thing I will say to those who are still in undergrad is that if you're going to reach out to someone for help, build a relationship. Do not always just reach out to them to ask them for help. That is not building a relationship. That is you just taking and not giving anything back. And in a mentorship relationship, anything like that, it really is about communicating with each other and building that form of relationship. And I'm saying relationship a lot, but that is what it is, a mentorship. So yeah.
Thank you, Ishi. I want to pass this on to Yangzi, if you want to quickly chime in.
Yeah, so I don't think I have an official mentor at the moment, but at my firm, all the attorneys that I work with, they do serve as pseudo mentors because when I'm working with them, they really do take the extra time to explain why they're going about this approach, why these set of facts matter for this case, and like how to just like look at a case and kind of like understand it for the arguments you're trying to bring forth, and just or like even giving like advice about law school and like picking what career you want. So that they definitely do serve as my mentors in that role, and I am very grateful to them. I will also give a special shout out to Google and just the internet, because all the answers are there. Anytime you have any questions, like you can look it up, and obviously, I'm like parsing through credible sources and whatnot, but that's also always a resource that you can rely on.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, Google is like one of the biggest tool that I think has been so important. Like anytime I am stuck with a policy question or any term, I think that's the first thing that I look up. In terms of so the same question in terms of like just if you have a mentor or like if you kind of like when you have a question, like who do you reach out to? Kunsang, if you want to also answer that.
Yeah, I agree with Youngji. The internet was my like biggest friend, just like starting from high school, and anything like social wise or academic related, I really consulted YouTube and Reddit a lot, and went into different subreddits because you can find a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge and advice to share. But then, yeah, going back to Yishi's point, it's very important to build that relationship first before connecting with someone. You don't want it to be just a take relationship instead of a give and take. But that was kind of hard for me because even though I have friends, like in my school, a lot of people come in pre-med or pre-business. And I felt kind of weird asking them for advice and stuff because I felt like they'll get the impression I was using them. And I think there's a way you can go about it, especially like Yishi mentioned. And I think that way is important because it's helpful that you reach out to your peers and ask them like what you need to what you need advice for, but you do it in a way that you're not like asking them for like too much or creating that impression that you're just using them. But at the same time, you don't want to limit yourself and like prevent yourself from reaching your goals as well. And then so right now I don't have a mentor. I have a pre-health advisor that we're assigned to from our college, but I don't use that resource as much as I should. And that's because like also coming in to college, I was on Reddit and a lot of people were like pre-health advising college is just like not good. And like, like I should have really just took that advice with a grain of salt and, still consulted my advisor, but just take everything with a grain of salt and just like use those resources. I think as a pre-med, like LinkedIn is a great source. I mean, a lot of people say LinkedIn is not like that helpful if you're pre-med, but if you use LinkedIn, you can definitely reach out to doctors or other pre-med students for like shadowing opportunities and just like networking and like learning more about clinical opportunities. So currently I think the closest like mentorship or like mentor program that I'm part of is NSSP. I'm also involved in pre-med oriented clubs at my school. But yeah, I've learned a lot about, seeking opportunities, networking, being professional to like further my career through NSSP. And I think it's nice when those mentors look like you and come from the same culture. I think just being in a program like this adds a lot of purpose and motivation to pursue like other endeavors in your career. You also want to give back and be that face or shoulder to lean on for the youth of our community. So yeah.
I just want to add on to that. I think I agree with what Kunsang said, and also I agree with what Yishi said about relationships and how you have to work to build that up, because that's also something that I had done in my undergraduate school, and I graduated from undergrad like 2 years ago, but I'm still in touch with this professor who is my mentor, who also wrote my recommendation letter when I applied to Columbia. And not only did she do that, but she took a lot of time to even like look through my portfolio and mark it up and even give me suggestions for scholarship that I can apply to. And that was a relationship that I built with her from starting my undergrad. So yeah, I think to have a mentor means I think you have to acknowledge your stance in terms of a technical ladder. And I think you have to be open to mentorship. Isn't just about desiring to learn from someone, but you have to keep your ego in check, accepting that there are people who know a lot more than you do. There's always people that know something that you don't. So, but at the same time, you need to keep your self-esteem in check and not let go of your own confirmed capabilities. And I think mentorship is at the root of all relationships.
Thank you, Sonam. Thank you, Kunsang. I think that was like really like good set of reflections. Anyone else like who hasn't like responded in terms of this question about mentorship from our panelists?
I can add on a few points. So I feel like mentorship, right? We focus so much on finding a mentor, but I feel like if you focus so much on being a good mentee, these mentors just everywhere, right? Like when I go to the gym, I meet so many people and they give me so many good advices that I can use, not just like professionally, in my personal life as well, right? So as long as you're open to just listening from someone who has like completely different experience, different backgrounds, and or same experience and same backgrounds, right? They're everywhere. You don't have, I don't believe in just having one mentor, right? I believe in you could just learn from everyone. It doesn't matter what backgrounds they have. So just keep yourself open, right? You always be ready to learn. Yeah.
Thank you, Jangwo. Jangwo, anyone else? Yeshi, go ahead. Do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that. I think it's really important for us to listen to different perspectives and be mindful of like the experiences that other people go through. And like that's the same thing with mentorship or just like working with other people. It seems like we're all in the field working with people in general. With that, like we really have to eliminate biases that we have going into whatever setting that we go to. And that really it's crucial when you're just working with others and building that when you're trying to figure out what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, and just seek some answers and learn for yourself. Like, the bias really needs to start, like it needs to like end, and that takes time because for us, I guess in our community we have a lot of biases against like sometimes other groups of people because that's how we were raised, or just other fields because it's not right for what we should be doing. And those barriers also need to be broken. Those gaps slowly will come down with time, I believe. And I think a panel like this, a panel that they've had in the past with NSSP, is breaking those barriers. But that really comes with mindfulness and listening to other people's perspectives.
Thank you, Yeshi. Anyone else? I'll give it a minute. Even the participants, if you want to share anything like with the group, please go ahead. Derek, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Zangbu said is a solid point on becoming a good mentee. You really have to put yourself out there in a manner that you can absorb as much information as possible that they're putting out. And then if a mentor or whoever tells you to do something, or do something, read this book or whatever, you actually do that and show that you're not just like flaking their advice or whatever. It really shows, and then follow up every time. It's your responsibility if you're the mentee to do the whole organizing of the event, coffee, whatever. So really work that angle. And apart from this NSSP, we'll hopefully later on, as we're starting to grow more and more, we'll look on doing some type of mentorship program in that regard. So we'll keep that in mind with how this goes along. And Kun-sang, you have me as a mentor. If you if you need anything, let me know.
Thank you. Yeah, I always kind of like try to stress that NSSP like is a really, really good space, especially like kind of to share reflections or like lessons with like people from like the Himalayan community, and also kind of like it's in terms of at least like having the relationship built already as like coming from like the same community, and having that ease to kind of like discuss about any barriers or similar barriers that you face in your school or in your career. And with that, I am going to like transition. We are at 7:43 p.m. So I'm going to transition towards the questions that we have received. The first one is really interesting. Given that we spend around 8 days a day of our lives in school or work to move forward, for students, what do you define work as? For professionals, what does it mean? So 8 hours a day. Yeah. So yeah, anyone want to do like just like jump in, answer this question?
I think I can chime in on this a little bit. I think for me, being in a design field, I find myself taking my work home with me a lot, because it is my career and it's a design field, so it's a reflection of your own identity. So I feel like my career and identity sort of entangles in a way. So I find myself, even after the 8 hours, even at home, I find myself still thinking about the work, still kind of taking my work home with me. But yeah.
Yeah, work feels like a way of life now because I have moms. I literally have a parent texting me in a group chat right now because like I'm an advisor, so I have 13 advisees, and we're in a group chat where we're just constantly talking about internship opportunities through SYEP or Ladders for Leaders, which is for older students, and like having those conversations. So I feel like I just don't get a break. I work from, it's a regular 8-day hour, but in the end, I end up taking the work home.
Yeah, for me, work is a learning opportunity and it's training for the future. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a step. My current position as a litigation paralegal is a stepping stone to law school, right? So when I work really late hours, I just see it as a way for me to check whether or not I can do this in the future. Am I struggling? Does it feel like too much for me? No, I can do this. And then, okay, so this is the path for me. I can hang in this field. And again, a learning opportunity because beyond just beyond it being just a means of, earning money and supporting yourself financially, it's a significant part of your life. 8 hours a day is a significant portion of your life, and that 8 hours could be spent doing something else. But if you're doing work, it's just like a mindset thing, right? If you see it as a learning opportunity to grow yourself further as a person and professionally, then that's what it is. If it's just a way of you getting money, then that's what it is. But yeah, that's what it means for me.
I want to jump in. I don't know if you guys were able to hear me fine. I was having a bit of an issue with the connectivity. But for me, I mean, this is an important question, right? Work, to my understanding, should not just define you as a person. I mean, as cliche as it is, if the saying goes, you hear in the US, you seem to sort of live to work than to work so that you can live. That's a different, angle when you are in other part of the world where I've lived and seen the people work so that they can live, right? And sometimes when you are, especially when I'm working in a financial institution setting, a lot of your life also is consumed by work. And what I do in that is try to actively take steps to sort of see what I can do out of my work to continue where my passion lies. Of course, where I work, I also have passion in the things that I do, on the daily, but things that I'm passionate about. Working with the community, working in volunteering opportunities, working with youth leadership institutions. For me, a lot of my growth through university has been sort of cultivated by a lot of me joining different debate organizations, debate groups, model UN organizations. And even to this day, after my 9 to 5, I also take my time to work with youth leader groups where we have a number of young students, both from high school and university level students. We teach them about youth leadership. We teach them about the ways different international institutions work. We teach them about the importance of social and ethical leadership and responsibilities and things like that, where I try to cultivate a generation of young leaders where they are able to realize their potential and being able to contribute positively to the communities they serve anywhere around the world. So in that, finding a balance between, yes, what you do 9 to 5, but also at the same time your passion and things that are beyond your 9 to 5. And in my view, that 9 to 5 tasks that you do every day shouldn't just define you as your person. A personality should come about more than just your 9 to 5. And I think we always should work towards cultivating a balance in that as well.
Thank you, Lodo. Jangmo?
Yeah, just want to piggyback on that. Definitely agree with Lodo saying finding that right balance. If I'm being brutally honest, I try to do just enough work, right, on my 9 to 5, just enough work so that I don't get fired, but I'm doing enough work that I'm still in a position of going to like higher positions later on. But I truly value like my own personal life outside of 9 to 5. I value my time with my family, with my friends, right? I feel like if you try to become a better person, right, just outside of life, that would reflect definitely on your 9 to 5 itself. I feel like it would make you a better employee or whatever you're doing. Right, so it's pretty chill. I don't know about other careers out there, but like I'm constantly taking vacations. Recently I went to Hawaii. I just worked remote there. I was all by myself, and I worked remotely for a whole week, and it was a great experience. And then I came back, grinded for a good week. After a while, now I'm going to Nepal. I'm taking like a 20-day trip. So I feel like getting into the position that I'm in right now, it's hard, but once you're inside, it should be pretty chill. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
That sounds like an amazing perspective. And yeah, I kind of always try to remind people that rest is radical, meaning that like we are in the space of like being in an American society, which is like very, very demanding in terms of the work product, having standards around like your work life. But at the same time, I think we also come, or like we are part of this community which also values the community itself, and also like kind of balancing that mental health aspect. So yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm like looking at the time check. It's 7:50. I am going to quickly like also ask another question, which is like from Dalamu. If time machine were real and you were able to go back to like the past for 10 minutes and meet your younger self, like what would you tell yourself, or like what advice would you give? And yeah, anyone, whoever wants to chime in, like feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I would probably tell myself just buy a bunch of Bitcoins when I was like 10 years old, right? Just buy a bunch of them because I was into Bitcoins when it was just a couple of $100. So I would have been like, yo, just buy a bunch of them.
I would tell myself to believe in yourself, and that any opportunity that you don't take up because you don't think that you're good enough is an opportunity that you're denying yourself. So just go for it and let them reject you. Don't reject yourself.
I would tell myself to respect my parents, but not listen to everything they say, because listening to them, my early college career, I pursued engineering, and I had no intention of like getting into that field. I solely chose it because it was either that or medical school for them, because they put those two careers on a pedestal. So I listened to them, and for 2 years I was actually in engineering, and then I didn't find that stimulating, which is why I switched over to architecture, and that was a really good decision that I had made myself. So, but a regret of mine is not starting that from jump, like starting that from straight out of high school.
What I would like to have done more, looking back, not that I haven't done, but I would have done more of, or could have done more of, is more than professional, a personal growth, a personal development from the standpoint of taking enough time to meditate, taking enough time to practice mindfulness, to taking enough time to look inwardly, look internally for answers that we're seeking in our lives. And we live in New York. We live in such a fast-paced environment where every day as it goes, you're often dictated by the the sort of situations that is around you, your day to day, that you often don't get to take a moment to pause and reflect and look at things more carefully. And I think, having had the opportunity to do so, if we can sort of just, take our moment to sort of, my apologies, to do just that, because we also come from, as being a member of Himalayan community, we also come from history, a rich, very rich history of Buddhist philosophies and Buddhism, in which it teaches us so many different things in our lives that we often sometimes take for granted, right? And there's a reason why a lot of, Westerners come to different parts of the Himalayas to look for answers, right? And I think we often overlook that. And I think if I had more time, if I had an opportunity to go back and look to sort of where I could have spent more time, is to really look, to develop yourself personally more than that of, anything else for that matter. So that's just something that came right into my head, because I'm also in this ongoing journey of being able to look for answers internally, and I think it's a opportunity worth pursuing even to this day.
Thank you, Lodo. I think for Walama, we can't hear you, but if you're comfortable, you can also type if any technical issues.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say Tasindale to all the panelists and the participants that are participating in this online networking event. Yeah, regarding your question about like what I would do if if the time machine was real and I could go back in the past for like 10 minutes. Well, first, I would like to say that I'm a mature student here in Canada. It's in North America, right? You guys know that. So I would say that I would tell my younger self to be more confident, like to have the self-confidence, and to actually be respectful to others, but not to the point that you get influenced by others, because the panelist before me, he made a comment about Buddhism and your faith, your philosophy and your culture. You need to have that self-confidence in your background, like your culture and your faith. And but at the same time, you need to listen to other folks as well, other people who are of the different backgrounds, but to the point that, but you need to have the self-confidence that you do not get influenced in a negative way from them. I actually have some questions too. Since I'm from Canada, right? I was wondering if there's any other Sherpa or Himalayan students who are participating from Canada or who are members of NSSP. Like, if there's anyone I would like to get in touch with, I would like to get involved and network with them, like if it's possible. I hope it's not an all-American thing. Like, it's not just students from New York or other places from America. I was wondering, because I think it's a great platform that NSSP itself is, that it provides. I think it's great for the Himalayan students that to actually have something like NSSP, that they could use, they could use and leverage it for their professional endeavors.
Thank you. We do, Angela, if you want to chime in about like that.
Yeah, so one of our eBoard members, he lives in Canada. So if you want, you can send your email in the Zoom chat and we can share it with him. He can reach out to you.
Sure, I'm going to give my email address on the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela. So with that, I think we're at 7:58 or 59, and it's been over like an hour and like 45 minutes or so. So I want to pass this on to Talamo. And again, like, thank you so much, everyone. I think this has been such an amazing space. And I hope I get to see like everyone at some point. And please do participate with in NSSP and NSSP events in the future. Dalmo?
Thank you. We all better see you at the LOSAR. I'm kidding. No. So last part of the panel would be just like reflection part. So yeah, was there any, would love to know if there was any takeaway from the panel event today for our dear panelists, like, or maybe even some advice that you want to give to the audience who maybe are trying to navigate through their early career and college life. So yeah, anything that you want to talk about really briefly.
I can go ahead. Well, it was a great experience, right? Just learning from all the panelists' experiences and your backgrounds and so on. So it was really great being here. Thanks to NSSP for hosting such a great event. And for all the viewers, if you guys are interested in becoming a software engineer or somewhere along the tech part, just hit me up on LinkedIn, social, whatever, like Fulpa Zangbu. You can find me there, and I'm more than happy to mentor or just guide you here and there. So it was nice being here. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting seeing how the Himalayan community is branching out into different fields and having spokespersons for those fields. It's really motivating, and I'm really grateful for having the chance to be on this panel and to speak with each other, with you, with NSSP and the audience. And yeah, and likewise, if anybody wants any advice or just wants to talk about the legal field and how to enter it and whatnot, I'm also available. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Yangji Sherpa, and yeah, thank you.
To echo that, I am, I guess, to put it lightly, very thrilled to have been a part of this. It was, a good experience to hear, the number of varying fields that a lot of our Himalayan folks have been a part of, and how they are not only engaged in these fields, but successfully thriving, and in itself goes on to show how motivating and inspirational that is to many of the young folks who are tuning into this and who continue to find their path in their lives. So I think this this event in itself is a testament to how far our communities will grow, and how the panelists in itself stand as a guiding light, so to speak, right, to lead us into that direction of success and whatnot. So in itself, to be able to be a part of that, I feel thankful and grateful. And if anyone is interested in the field that I have been a part of and I continue to be in, you can always reach out to me via LinkedIn or my other contact that you may find through the organization. And once again, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and happy to connect with any one of you if needed.
Yeah, I think it was so refreshing to see such a diverse list of people in our community in such diverse fields, and to hear about their experiences, and how it was very interesting how we went through like similar challenges almost, but in different ways. But yeah, I'm very thankful for you guys hosting this, and I'm thankful for being here. And if anybody's interested in my field, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you guys for hosting this. Thank you for the invitation, Dalamu. That was a very sweet DM on Insta, so it was very sweet. But I think my biggest takeaway from this was like just seeing how much we've grown. There are some people in here that I've known since we were kids, and like just seeing us grow and become adults and like are venturing off into what we're doing. It's such an awesome thing to see. And especially because they are so diverse, and we as the community, we are small, but we're thriving, and there's so much promise with us, and there's so much motivation. And we are seeing it throughout. We've been seeing it, and we're seeing it more now. So just wanted to say thank you. And yes, I have not been active on LinkedIn for the last 2 years because I haven't needed it. So I will now be active on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you guys for hosting this event. It was really, really inspirational just to hear from all the panelists. And yeah, I think we've come very far as a community, and it's so nice to see so many different people at, you know, different stages of their career, already flourishing and already giving back to their community, and you know, sharing their advice and their knowledge. And yeah, if you have any questions, like college related or pre-med related, just, yeah, let me know. I'm always here. Thank you.
Thank you so much to each of our panelists. Thank you, Sonam Sherpa, Kunsang Chiring, Pulpa Jangmo, Yangji Sherpa, Loda Getso, and Yeshi Sherpa. And thank you to our viewers as well. We will be doing more events maybe in the upcoming months. So if you are interested in staying tuned in, please follow us on our Facebook, NSSP USA, on our Instagram, NSSP USA, and we recently made a new LinkedIn page. So it will be Network of Sherpa Students and Professionals. So NSSP, you can easily find us on LinkedIn. So please follow us. And then for our, I will say it in Nepali as well. I will try my best. हाम्रो भ्युअरहरू जो जो फेसबुक लाइभमा हेर्नु भइरहेको छ, तपाईहरू एनएसएसपी को इभेन्ट इन्ट्रेस्ट छ भने अथवा तपाईको बच्चाहरूको लागि एनएसएसपी इभेन्ट्सहरू पार्टिसिपेट गर्ने मन छ भने हामीलाई इन्स्टाग्राममा फलो गर्नु होला। हामी त्यहाँ इन्स्टाग्राममा एक्टिभ हुन्छ, इट्स एनएसएसपी युएसए। हामीलाई के रे लिङ्क्डइन प्रोफेसनल अकाउन्ट हो, त्यसमा पनि फलो गर्दा हुन्छ। Network of Sherpa Students and Professionals. Thank you so much. And with that, again, thank you to all of you. And please keep being awesome. You are all so inspirational and even motivational to me as well. And definitely to the viewers who are watching us. So thank you.
Thank you, Dalamu. Angela, if you want to quickly chime in as well.
Sure. So yes, everything that Dalama just said, thank you so much to our panelists for joining us. I'm sure I can echo the sentiments of so many people that are watching when I say that it's inspiring to see our cultural community venturing out into so many different, unique, and equally important fields, both in your professional careers and your studies. NSSP really values this event because every year, you know, we hear from different people, and every year we've seen the variety of professional fields just continue to grow. So like everyone mentioned earlier, it's really exciting. I think that it really helps, especially our younger viewers who might, after watching this, you know, consider a field that they never even thought of. So once again, thank you. And then I'm going to second what Dalamu said. Please follow us on all of our socials if you'd like to stay updated. Also, please feel free to send, you know, any suggestions you have for us. If you have something specific you'd like to see us pursue in the future in terms of events or any types of programming, we like to keep this, you know, like an open line of communication. I mean, NSSP is made for the community, so please, you know, please utilize that. DM us, message us, comment, anything. And then just to plug in some future things that we have in the works currently. In April, we'll be hosting kind of a cultural education program at Sherpa Kiduks Lapso. So if anyone is interested, anyone watching or any panelists, if you're interested in volunteering with us, just reach out. Additionally, we have a financial literacy webinar coming up. Lapso, I believe, is April 11th, but we'll send out a mass email, and we will be posting on socials when we are starting to collect volunteers. Additionally, we have a financial literacy webinar coming up, and then we are planning to host an in-person networking event, maybe something like picnic style. We're not sure yet, but we'd love to have all of you join us in person. So just stay on the lookout for that as well. And yeah, thank you everyone. And I think, yeah, Kunsang, I think we can end the live now. Okay.
Thank you, Angela. I think that is it for us. It's 8:10, so thank you for sticking around for like 10 more minutes. And for the panelists, Dalawang is going to follow up with a thank you email and a small surprise as well. So thank you so much. Bye. Take care. Good night.
Bye,
Thank you. Good
everyone.
night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, y'all.
Night.
Bye.